everyone! Welcome back to another multiplayer match for Total War Warhammer. This is another 2v2. I am playing as Chaos, a faction that I don't play often, so I'm trying to force myself to play them more to understand them more. And then my ally here is playing as the Empire. You can see beautiful Hellstorm rockets just flying off towards the Dwarven player. They brought, actually, I think 2 Hellstorm rockets and a great cannon. A lot of money in artillery. A common theme I see in a lot of multiplayer matches. But anyway, for my army, I have a front line of Chaos Marauders. For 400 gold, I don't think that the Marauders are really that bad. They're more melee focused than, at least their Dwarven counterparts. They're the Dwarf Warriors. And yeah, I don't think they're bad for what you get. I basically brought them as just a screen. There's a lot of them, but I almost knew 100% that the 2 Dwarven players we were going to fight against would bring Thunderers. Because in most multiplayer matches, people bring Thunderers. And I want this to be a message. Don't rely just on Thunderers. I know guns are cool. I know that maybe if you fight against a Chaos player, you should expect a lot of heavy armor, and that is true. You should probably expect some. But don't only rely on Thunderers. Bring a group. Bring 2 groups if you want, but then also bring some Quarrelers. Because the thing is, if we get up right here, the Thunderer damage. Let's look at this real quick. They do 3 missile damage, 14 armor piercing. They do almost nothing to unarmored or very, very low armored units. Like, oh, I don't know, Chaos Marauders. I always take Chaos Marauders. They are almost unarmored. They do great against Thunderers because Thunderers' damage is pathetic for unarmored units. So I wanted to show this because people rely too heavily on Thunderers. Bring a couple Quarrelers just to mix it up. But anyway, that's why I brought all these Chaos Warriors to take those to take their fire, and also the Chaos Warriors I think can kind of go toe-to-toe against Dwarf Warriors. Dwarf Warriors are more heavily armored, but Chaos Marauders, I believe, have higher health and definitely higher melee attack. But anyway, my actual damage dealer are going to be in 3 Forsaken, which you can see the weapon strength there is 65. Their melee attack of 48. These guys, they're like kind of like shock infantry. Kind of, because with the high charge bonus, they're kind of like Nodachi, I guess, from, well, maybe that's a bad comparison. Anyway, they look cool, they deal a lot of damage, and they're going to get a lot of kills. Also behind them is our Chaos Spawn unit. I really like Chaos Spawn just because they're unbreakable. They also deal a ton of damage. Look at that damage that they deal. And they're anti-infantry, which, you know, Dwarves are all going to be infantry because they don't have cav. It's kind of one of their drawbacks. And then I also have 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons for their anti-armor capabilities. Again, because I'm fighting off against 2 Dwarven players. Then behind them, we have 2 units of the little Chaos Warhounds. I get the poison one specifically because I don't think Warhounds are too amazing, but I do like the poison debuff they can apply on enemy units. I'm being led by a Chaos Sorcerer of the Lore of Metal. I don't think the Lore of Metal is amazing, but I'm just trying to use all the different lores. I think Lore of Death is the best one, simply because it can do a lot of single target damage to snipe enemy heroes and lords, and I think that's kind of the thing that people want to do. And then I also brought out this Exiled Hero. I've never used one before, but I put it on a Manticore so that it can cause terror and fear, kind of like this Chaos Dragon can, and they fly, so I thought maybe you can get some utility out of there. So yeah, that is my army. I'm going up against a bunch of Thunderers. This player brought a bunch of Dwarf Warriors behind them. They brought 3 cannons. I believe 3 cannons, yeah. And then, I think maybe a Longbeard? Maybe. The other Dwarf player is going to sit on this hill for a little bit and try to maneuver their army in a position to fight the Empire. So in this case, again, a lot of people online seem to rely on artillery, and artillery's fun, but I think they maybe spend too much money on it. So we have 2 organ guns from this Dwarven player and 2 grudge throwers. And if we look at their range, the grudge throwers are 420. The Imperial player has the advantage here. Both the Hellstorm rocket batteries and the Great Cannon, which they took, has a range of 450. So already, you're out of range. You're going to be outranged by the Imperial player. Oh, also right here, the Imperial player is sending a couple of Reichsguard to assist me with this Dwarf player, because this one is maneuvering themselves over to the left flank of the Imperial player and also just kind of staying on this hill, just getting sniped. So, listen, another thing I wanted to say, because this also happens a lot, especially with Dwarven players. Dwarven players don't really like to move, I've seen. Move! There's no reason to sit here and get shot by this Imperial artillery, but this player is going to do it. I don't know why. Just move. I know that you're slow, but reposition if you need to. Your artillery is outdone by the Empire's artillery. They have higher range. You just got to deal with it. You just got to move up. I'm just saying that because I see this happen all the time. But anyway, I am charging the other Dwarven player who has this line of Thunderers here. The cannon are starting to fire. I don't have much belief in the Dwarf cannon, but people bring them. But here we go. We're going to see the Thunderers open up fire. I dropped the Vortex spell here to try and disrupt the gun line as I was approaching. Didn't do too much. Now look at all... Okay, so we've gone through, what, like 3 or 4 different rounds of shooting? I'm sorry for slowing it, everything, but this is more just a message to try and help people. Look how much damage they did to my Chaos Marauders. All that gunfire. Not much damage, did they? No. Also, the guns can't shoot over the heads of your Dwarven allies. Quarrelers can. Yeah. Just putting that out there. Although I did get shot up a little bit with my Chaos Sorcerer at this point. So yeah, my first line meets up with the Dwarven Warriors. Now my Chaos Marauders are not the ones that's supposed to deal damage here. Right here I'm dropping a debuff that's going to lower the Dwarf's attack and weapon damage. So if I pause it again, this is one of the Lore Metal's cool spells. Sorry, I keep pausing, I know. But look at their melee attack. These Dwarven Warriors are not going to hit anything. Anything for the duration of the spell. I believe if we go over here, the spell is Transmutation of Lead. It's a pretty wide area, and especially against Dwarves who have a low melee attack to begin with, like all their units do, it is deadly against them. They are doing nothing here except for getting hit by our Forsaken who just charged in and the Chaos Marauders that are holding the line as well. So I just, again, pointing out things you can use against Dwarf players specifically. Any player, really. Dropping your attack by 34 is a lot. But anyway, that's what I dropped down here in the center. And I'm going to be kind of assaulting in waves. Here come my Chaos Hounds to deal poison damage, which is going to decrease all of their stats. Also, the Empire player did charge in when I was charging, and they charged their cannons, I believe. I landed my heroes here in the back line to cause fear and terror. And now I go with my Chaos Spawn. So if you look at the health here, we've done a pretty nice job killing some Dwarves. The Thunderers, even though they're okay at melee, the Chaos Warhounds are actually doing better than I thought they would. I didn't expect the Chaos Warhounds to even be able to beat Thunderers, to be honest. But yeah, they actually did pretty good. I was surprised. And now here comes my last wave of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. At this point, though, this Dwarven player is kind of not looking good. You got Reichsguard still in the back charging their cannons. And then meanwhile, we still have this Dwarf player over here kind of sitting on a hill. They are throwing some grudges my way, which, I don't know, they get a couple kills, I guess. But they're being charged by Pistoliers. I didn't see this one. Some of their armies are getting positioned over here in the forest. I'm not entirely sure what this Dwarf player did. They really just wanted to hold this hill, I think. And that's just something I see Dwarf players want to do. They pick a spot, they want to hold it. Even though they're being outranged by Imperial Artillery the entire game, you gotta move, people. You gotta move if the situation calls for it. So yeah, at this point, this Dwarven player, with the help of the Reichsguard from my ally, and that's another thing, teamwork. Look, my ally didn't send much my way, but the Reichsguard was just terrorizing their entire backline as my Chaos Warriors and Forsaken were terrorizing the front line. And now this player is in almost a full rout. I have lost not much at all. Again, with the combined of my Chaos Marauders taking all that Thunderer damage, this enemy player put way too much reliance on artillery and Thunderers, something I see all the time. All the time. And it's just easily countered. And at this point, I sent some units to basically just chase these Dwarven units off the field. Chaos Warhounds, I sent a couple Chaos Warriors. And then I start to mount up a offensive against this player, who again is staying on this hill getting peppered by artillery. Now, to their credit, they did finally move some of their forces up. They moved their organ guns in range of the Empire player, who now just has a line of spearmen awaiting the charge of the dwarf. Because, look, this is what artillery does in this game. Artillery necessarily is not a great, like, killer, okay? It shouldn't be, anyway. But what it does do is it dictates the terms of the battle. For the Empire player here, they brought artillery with very long range. Longer than the Dwarven player. So therefore, they're dictating the terms. They are the ones who could be defensive all day, not the Dwarven player, because they're outranged. The Dwarven player is forced to move and advance on the Empire player. And that's what I think artillery is really supposed to be used for in a large funds battle. You get like 1, you get 2, if you want to be like a defensive oriented and just sit there and camp and outrange your opponent. That's why I think artillery is used for, is just to get the enemy moving. They do damage. They can. But just don't overestimate the use of artillery, because it could get you killed. Another message for you. I had no artillery at all. I could have brought hell cannons. They're not bad. They do a lot of damage. I like them. But I try not to rely on artillery. Because, again, they're easily countered by, I don't know, flying creatures. Cav, if you don't have enough Cav. I didn't even bring any Cav. That's another thing. The Chaos Cav, I think, is way overpriced. Way overpriced for how okay it is. I don't think it's that amazing. So I try not to rely on it too much. Honestly, I think I like these Warhounds a lot more. Just because they at least bring the poison attack to the battle. So yeah, my Exalted Hero is leading a contingent of our troops to finish off the Dwarven... what was the player's name? Can't remember. Anyway, to finish them off, while my Chaos Sorcerer is leading the rest of our forces against this hill to finish off the other Dwarven player, or at least try to. And they still have not collided. Their main lines have not even fought yet. And we've wiped out an entire player. It's crazy to me. You gotta have some teamwork in 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s. I control chaos. I go. Now, what I will say, they do have a Master Engineer here, which is probably a good call to keep him around your artillery because of the buffs that they have. But this Master Engineer is going to be sniping my Chaos Sword, and I never even noticed. I didn't notice, I'm going to be honest. I was too busy managing the routing enemy player and then getting our forces up here to finish this player off. I do love those blasting charges. But there we go. I just hit them with another debuff, which is going to bring their melee attack down, I believe. Maybe not. Did I not do that? Maybe that was a buff from the enemy team. I thought I debuffed them. Chaos Spawn still alive, still wrecking face. Miners are anti-armor units. Chaos don't have much armor, so they do really well against Dwarf Miners. Except for that one. That one didn't do too well. But yeah, at this point my Chaos Sword is routing because of low damage. This Master Engineer was just sitting there sniping him the whole time. I didn't even notice. So while I am over here on the hill wiping out part of this Dwarven player's force, the Empire player is finally engaged in melee with the rest of this Dwarven player's forces, who again took Thunderers. Look, I like guns too. They're cool. Just bring Quarrelers. Just try them out. Because they can fire over the ranks of the people in front of them too. So, they're pretty good. I'm just putting that out there. Bring 1 or 2 maybe Thunderers to specifically fight against armored units. And then bring a couple Quarrelers to fight against those who aren't that armored. This player, honestly, at this point doesn't have much chance because they split their forces in half, and half of them I am taking out here on the hill. As you can see, I've wrapped up most of them. My Sorcerer Lord is coming back. My Exiled Hero is here now to try and kill their Engineer. I believe the Manticore does a lot of armor piercing. No, it's the Dragon that does. Yeah, the Dragon does a lot of armor piercing damage. . There they go. A lot of those units are in a full rout. And my Imperial ally here is wrapping up the remaining Dwarven infantry. And now they have a few grudges to write down in a book somewhere in a deep, dark hole. So there you go. Oh my gosh, my Forsaken did insanely well, as they should, against a force of mostly dwarf warriors. So I was up against Unknown. So yeah, Unknown took a bunch of dwarf warriors and relied entirely on their Thunderers and these cannon to do all the damage. Now I usually only play large funds, which is 12,400, and with only that amount of money, I really have to urge you to not bring that much artillery. Don't do it. Do 1 or 2 to see if you can dictate the terms of battle if you're going to be defensive or offensive. You can use them to snipe specific units and weaken them. They can do things, but just don't spend too much money on them, because they're going to be a detriment to you against a player who's going to rush you and take them out. And again, the Thunderers here, we have 5 units of them. Look at the kills they got. Because after their initial volleys into my Chaos Marauders, which did almost nothing, they were forced to withdraw behind a line, and they had nothing to shoot at except for my Flyers. But we also smashed into them with Reiksguard and the Chaos Hounds. And then I also landed my Exalted Hero and my Chaos Lord into their lines, and they were shut down completely. So all of their damage was here. This is all of their holding power, which could have worked if they had not as much money spent into cannons, maybe get a Longbeard here and there, some anti-armored infantry of some kind. So yeah, they fell pretty quickly. And then it was Skittersqueak here who held the hill. And look, they got a lot of... Actually, the artillery got some amount of kills. I'll give them that. How much did the Imperial players get? The Great Cannon got a lot. The Great Cannon, I will say, I think is one of the most solid pieces of artillery in the game. I think it's really good. The Hellstorm rocket, they look very flashy. I don't think they're really that amazing, but they look flashy. They did get some kills, but they're also pretty expensive. That Reiksguard getting a decent amount of kills too. But whew, these Forsaken just had a field day with these poor Dwarven warriors. They had no chance against Forsaken. Oh man. Anyway, even look at those. Maybe I gotta use Chaos Warhounds more. That's a lot of good kills. I did not think they would do so well against the Dwarven range, because Dwarven ranged units are decent melee combatants. But yeah, I guess I just gotta put my faith more into them. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the battle. Hope you learned something. Don't just bring just guns. Try crossbows. The same goes for Empire players, because a lot of them rely on handgunners. Bring some crossbows. It may change the outcome of your future battles. But anyway, take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed.